Hornbeam are beautiful native trees that are a good indicator of ancient woodlands. They're often confused with beech trees because their leaves are quite similar. The leaves are oval with a pointed tip, but unlike beech leaves, hornbeam leaves have a toothed margin. Hornbeam leaves have quite a pleated surface, so there's quite clear folds along the veins. So here's a quick comparison. These are beech leaves in my hand. You can see that they have an untoothed margin, but the margins are quite wavy. If you compare that to the hornbeam leaves, the most distinctive part about hornbeam are its fruits, which hang in these tiered clusters. On these clusters you get a large seed in the middle of these three-pronged bracts. So when these start growing in spring, it makes the hornbeam tree much easier to identify. So these fruits of the hornbeam tree also make it very easy to distinguish from the beech tree. Here you can see a beech with some beech nuts just starting to develop there. The bark of hornbeam again can be mistaken for beech because it's quite grey and smooth. Closer you get, you can see you get these sort of bumps along the surface. So it's not quite as smooth as beech. You get these dips like that. And you get these sort of crisscross patterns as well. This is more so on mature trees like this. And yeah, you can see the ridges more clearly here. Dips in and then comes out. Although hornbeam are often confused with beech trees, they're not even in the same family. Hornbeam are in the betula or birch family. They're large trees that can occasionally reach up to 30 meters tall. They're more common in the south of the UK in ancient woodlands, and they prefer damp clay soil. Hornbeam wood is very dense and strong. It's known for its durability and is used for tool handles and slow burning firewood. Douglas fir is a non-native coniferous tree which can be found in the UK in parks, and it's also grown in huge plantations, especially in Wales. And just like this one in South Wales, which goes on for miles. Douglas fir are the tallest trees that grow in the UK. These are relatively small ones, but they can reach even over 60 meters tall, roughly the same size as a 20-story building. The bark is a reddish brown with vertical cracks. If you're in a plantation like this, then most of the needles will be right at the tops of the tree, out of reach. Unless you find a clearing or pathway, then the needles tend to grow right down to the base of the tree because they get more sunlight. And they usually have very straight trunks. Douglas fir has flattened leaves or needles that are quite soft, and they grow all around the stem like a bottle brush. On the underside of the needles, they have two clear white lines. You can tell the difference between Douglas fir and spruce, firstly because the needles are flat on Douglas fir, and also the needles connect directly to the stems, whereas spruce have little woody pegs where the needles attach to the stems. In May and June, you can see this brighter green, fresh growth. They're covered by a little brown papery sheath like this when they first emerge. Also, Douglas fir needles have a fairly strong citrusy resinous smell when you crush them. If you walk underneath the trees, then you should find some of the cones, and these are a key identifier for Douglas fir. So they're made up of these overlapping scales, and in between the scales you get these three-pronged bracts, which are said to look like the hindquarters of mice hiding within the cones, because you get these two hind legs and then the tail. Here's a better example there, look. And you can also find these immature cones that have fallen off, and you can see the bracts even more clearly while they're still green. So we've got two hind legs and a tail. There aren't any other cones that have this feature, so if you find a load of these underneath a tree, then you can be pretty sure that you've got a Douglas fir. Douglas fir is an important timber tree used in construction. Despite its name, English walnut isn't actually a UK native tree. In the UK, it's mostly found in parks or along roads, especially near farmland, but it's rarely found in British woodlands. It's a large deciduous tree that can grow up to 30 metres. This is a very mature walnut tree here. It's one of the biggest I've seen. The leaves are easily identified by their smell. If you crush one, it will smell somewhere between bay leaf and furniture polish. The leaves are pinnately compound, meaning that a single leaf is split into many leaflets along a central rib called a rachis. So all of this is one leaf. And if you look at the margins of the leaflets, you'll see they're untoothed. A good identifier of walnut trees is the stems have a membrane-like centre. So if you cut one lengthways, you'll see it has separate chambers. English walnut produces these oval fruits with an outer husk that is green with white markings when they're immature. So this is how they look in early summer. Eventually, they will develop a hard, wrinkled nut casing containing a walnut. When the walnut ripens, the green outer casing will rot away and turn into a black inky liquid. and that's one of many uses of this tree, and ink can be made from this liquid. The walnuts are edible and delicious, just like shop-bought ones, only a bit smaller. Walnut wood is used for making furniture and has a beautiful dark colour. Hawthorns are beautiful native trees from the rose family. They're one of the most common trees in the UK, and they're often used as hedging. They make a great barrier with their dense branches and their sharp thorns. If they're just left to grow naturally, they can reach over 10 meters tall. The leaves are around 3 to 4 centimeters long, and they are deeply lobed. And the leaves are alternate. Hawthorn is also called the May tree, as they become densely packed with these beautiful flowers in May. They have 5 white or pale pink petals and grow in clusters. They have a strong almond scent. These are the unripe fruits of the hawthorn, or hawberries. These will ripen around August or September, and they'll turn a deep crimson red, and they can persist on the tree all winter, and they're a really good source of food for birds. Their flesh is a pale yellowish green, and they'll have one large seed inside if it's common hawthorn. If there's 2 seeds inside, then you've probably got Midlands hawthorn. This is a whitebeam tree. Although it's a native tree, it's not commonly seen in the wild in the UK. You're much more likely to find it in parks or along urban roads. They can reach up to 15 meters tall, but around 5 to 10 meters is more common. The leaves of the whitebeam tree are alternate. They're around 7 to 10 centimeters long. They're oval and have a toothed margin. The upper surface is green and shiny, while the underside is white and felty, and they'll turn a deep red in autumn. The flowers appear in late April and early May. They have 5 white petals and grow in dense clusters. The berries hang in clusters and turn deep red when ripe in September. And its bark is grey and quite smooth. Swedish whitebeam looks quite similar, but it has lobed leaves.